G'day. Every driver has a team of people around him to allow him to compete at the highest level, an entourage, and you're about to meet all of the people who work with the 20 drivers on the 2025 F1 grid. The dictionary defines an entourage as a group of people who travel with and work for an important or famous person. And there are a few more important or famous people in Formula One this year than this man, Lando Norris. Who's in his entourage? Well, for a start, there's his manager, Mark Bearman. He's from Britain, as is his trainer, John Malvin. John's been with him for more than a decade. If you see Lando Norris on TV walking the paddock, you'll often see him in the company of this woman, Sophie Ogg. Sophie's in communications with McLaren. She's not specifically working for Lando, but she does spend a lot of time with him. You'll also see him with Ash Bibby, who is his photographer and videographer. Ash is also British and has been working with him for some time. Now, over the last few years, we've seen the introduction of a security agent for Lando. This is Rich. He's a Brit, and during the recent cool days in Bahrain, I was amazed that he was getting around in a short sleeve shirt. Look for him in the background of shots, although if he's doing his job, he probably will be just out of camera range. And the final person in Lando's entourage would be his father, Adam, who accompanies him to not all races, but certainly most. And indeed, he bankrolled Lando for his formative years. Now, before I get on to my next one, I'll just say quickly, thank you to the about 50% of you watching now who are subscribed. Now, the other 50%, could you do me a favour, please? Hit the subscribe button, either now or at the end of the video. I'll be most grateful. Let's look at Lando's teammate, Oscar Piastri. His manager, well, there's actually two managers. It's Mark and Anne Webber. Anne does a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. Mark's very much hands-on at the track. His trainer is new. Previously, you might remember this fellow, Kim Keedle, an Australian, who decided the travel was too much and he gave it away. He's been replaced this year with Arturi Samilla, who's a Finn. Now, I don't have a picture of Arthur. Well, that's what he goes by. But I did meet him at the Sofitel in Bahrain. Didn't take a photo, but I asked ChatGPT to produce an image of a Finnish Formula One trainer. And this is what it came up with. So we'll go with that in the absence of a picture of Arthur. Does Oscar have a security guard? He does. This is Jonathan, a man mountain. A lovely guy to be around, but as you can see, man not to be messed with. Also in Oscar's entourage is his girlfriend Lily. She pops up at about a third of the races each year. And his dad Chris is probably at the same number. Mum Nicole at just a couple. Now, some of the drivers have more in their entourage than others. Typically, the more successful the driver, the more people required to handle business commitments, promotional inquiries, contracts, social media, and much, much more. Not that they come to every race, but the more a driver earns, the more he can afford to spend on staff. Charles Leclerc, well, he has a few people in his entourage, being first his manager, Nicholas Todd, son of Jean Todd, and this fellow, Olivia, now should I even pronounce his last name? I don't think so. I'll have a go. Manhout? Tell me if I'm right or wrong. Olivia does more of the stuff at the track. Nicholas is more a big picture guy. His trainer is Andrea Ferrari. Yes, Ferrari, working for Ferrari. And of course, being Italian, Ferrari is a very popular name. It's the third most popular surname in that country. His PR officer is Mia Jasic. She worked with him at Sauber. He went to Ferrari, and within a couple of races, he'd asked for Mia to be brought over. He has his own photographer, Antoine Truchet, and his girlfriend Alexandra pops up at a number of races throughout the year. Lewis Hamilton, very much the big picture here and a huge entourage, kicking it off with his manager, Mark Hines. His trainer is Angela Cullen. I recently did a video about Angela Cullen, why she left, what her role is with Lewis, but she's a very important part of his entourage. His press officer this year is Pedro Cebrian. If you look Pedro up on social media, he's changed Pedro to Peter. He's Spanish. Security, yes, this fellow and sometimes this fellow. But at some races, Lewis takes different security guards, but these two fellows are the ones that do most of the work. He has his own photographer, sometimes two. This is Soleil Kelly, known as Shoelace on social media, and 13th Witness, Timmy, is another fellow that pops up by his side. And PR, this year, he has a new PR officer in Ella. Last year, he was side by side with Rosa from Mercedes. Now, with all of these PR officers, they are employed by the team, but they often spend a lot of time with the driver in the paddock, in the TV press pen, and also in press conferences. Now, if you've seen the TV show Entourage, you're probably wondering, are any of the people I'm talking about today anything like the characters that you see in the Entourage? For instance, do we have a manager like Ari Gold, played by Jeremy Piven?
The bigger man in my world is the last man standing.
Well, I'm not sure. I think they're much more diplomatic. Certainly, Isack Hadjar's manager, Guillaume Le Goff, is nothing like Ari Gold, at least from what I've seen. Guillaume actually looks after another driver, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Isack's trainer is new to the sport, as is Isack, I guess, too. This is Harry Mann from the UK. Now, Harry is about the same size as Isack and looks to me to be about the same age as well. And working with him on the PR side is Fabiani Valenti, who is a long-time F1 PR specialist, or communications as they're called now. Is she with him all the time? Well, certainly most of the time. But, of course, from time to time, PR people don't go to a race, so there'll be someone stepping in. Alex Albon, he has a manager, Jacques Hextall-Smith, a lovely fella from Britain. His trainer is Patrick Harding, an Irish trainer who has trained Olympic boxers and is quite a colourful character, and he has the thickest beard of anybody in the paddock. When you see Alex in the paddock or in the TV media pen, standing behind him this year for many of the races, you'll see Christiane Whitehouse. Now, she is new, and one of his most important supporters is his girlfriend, Lily He. She pops up to, I'm guessing, around half of the races. Another rookie this year, Jack Doohan. Well, he's not really a rookie because he had one race last year, but his entourage comprises some big hitters like Flavio Briatore. His manager, also managing him, is Matthew Michel, and Max Adams, his friend from school years, is doing a lot of the day-to-day stuff at the track. And I have had dinner with Max and Jack last year a couple of times, and they are great company. Very honest fellas. Jack's trainer is a Catalan from Catalonia. On the PR side, it could be anybody from Alpine, but a couple of occasions over the Bahrain testing weekend, well, actually it was midweek, wasn't it? James Lloyd was by his side. And this year expect to see plenty of his dad, Mick Doohan, at the track, often walking with Jack and providing some invaluable advice, given the fact that his dad has won the 500cc World Championship 5 times in a row. I mentioned that this man, Guillaume Le Goff, managed 2 drivers. The second of those 2 is Pierre Gasly. His trainer's Ben Thorne. Ben recently became a father. He's from Britain. His PR manager is James Lloyd, and he does have his own photographer, Gregoire Truchet. Yes, same surname as Charles' photographer, and that's because they have the same parents. Yes, they're brothers. In Max Verstappen's entourage is his manager, Raymond Vermeulen. So typically, what does an F1 driver's manager do? Because they're at the track every race, just about. It runs the whole gamut. Things like contracts, yes. Looking after their driver on track. If there's an issue that perhaps Max is not happy with that, Raymond will often have to go to the team to discuss it. He'll handle all commercial inquiries, that's money and sponsorships and the like, and from time to time talk to the media to keep them up to date with what's going on with his driver. His trainer is Rupert Mannering. Now, Rupert used to work for Carlos Sainz, but in 2024, he made the move to join Max and is pretty adept at picking up trophies at the end of every race and taking them back to the driver's room. His father, Jos, pops along to a lot of races. PR this year will be Anna Webster. And does he have security? Yes, but only at a couple of races. These 2 fellas are Dutch, and you will definitely see them at the Zandvoort race, plus a couple of other races where security is deemed necessary. Next up, Red Bull teammate Liam Lawson, whose manager is Anastasia Fowl. Now, I've not seen her yet at the track, and if I have, I've not recognised her. Trainer, Declan Foley, this is his first time stepping into Formula One. He'd be pretty excited about that gig, I'd suggest. PR, Alice Hedworth from Red Bull, and his girlfriend Hannah St John will pop up from time to time at races. Well, certainly she did last year, so expect more of that this year. Now at the track, I see the drivers sometimes with 1, 2, 3 or 4 of these people together, meandering up and down the paddock. But outside of the track, they'll often go to dinner together and spend a lot of time with each other. Very rarely will a driver be out on his own. Certainly, the more successful drivers really can't. You would never see Lewis Hamilton just walking in a shopping centre or heading out to a restaurant on his own because he would be bombarded. So if you happen to see a driver at a restaurant or out and about in the street, chances are one of the people that I've mentioned here will be around them. George Russell's entourage looks a little like this. His manager is Harry Soden from the UK. His trainer is Aleix Casanovas. He's the 3rd of the Catalans, and I believe he had a bit to do with at least one of the other Catalan trainers getting a gig this year in Formula One. Will Aleix be at all races? No, this year he's going to have some of those off, and Elias Houtinen will be stepping into that role for those races. Now, Elias used to work alongside Logan Sargent. Pretty solid boy, not to be messed with. George's PR officer is Charlotte Davies, and you've probably seen her plenty of times in the TV media pen holding a small recorder. Why do they do that? Well, that is so they can keep a record of what George says. So if some reporter down the track said George said this, they have evidence to say he didn't, if indeed he did not. And for about half the races this year, I predict you'll see his girlfriend Carmen alongside him. Kimi Antonelli is brand new to Formula One. His entourage includes a manager, yes, Gwen Legru. His father, Marco Antonelli, popped up at Bahrain. I expect to see him at a number of races this year. PR-wise, he's handled by Lewis's old PR officer, Rosa. His trainer is Sergio Villa, the third of the Catalan trainers, and he's a good foot taller than Kimi. He's worked with him for some time. Social media, yes, he has his own photographer, and this year it's Giacomo, or Jack as we know him. Last year he was at Ferrari. Shall we touch on the Aston Martin drivers? Yes, we shall, with Lance Stroll, joined by his manager, Stephen. Well, this is actually his business manager, Esteban Ocon. His main manager is Melvin Hoppenheim Jr., who I've never seen or photographed at the track. His trainer is Henry Howe. You might have seen Henry on some vision going back a year or so ago when Lance pushed him in the back of the garage. Henry's not worried by any of that. He's a Brit, lovely fella. He started working with Lance in 2021, actually took over from Nico Hulkenberg's trainer, Martin Poole, who had a year with Lance in 2020. Looking after PR for Lance is Yves Morel, and then this fellow here, Nuno Pinto, who's an ex-rally driver. He's worked as the driving coach at the Ferrari Academy, and at Prema, where he met Lance, is now accompanying him to most of the races as a mentor. And of course his father Lawrence is very much in Lance's entourage. Now Fernando Alonso, you'd expect to have a large entourage given he's been in the sport for such a long time and is a two-time world champion. No, he keeps it pretty trim. Just his manager, Alberto Fernandez, who is the nicest fella in the paddock. His trainer, Eduardo Bandinelli, who's been with him for a long time, although I did note that he worked with Robert Kubica back in 2017. Fernando also has a second trainer, Fabrizio Bora. He takes over for Eduardo at a few races a year. And PR-wise, it's Michael Clayton. In fact, Michael worked with Fernando at Alpine, and when Fernando moved from Alpine to Aston Martin, it pretty much was a done deal that they had to also take Michael. What's Michael like? Calm and measured, although occasionally he can let slip a smile, although you've got to be lucky to capture that. Esteban Ocon, his entourage includes his manager, Gwen Legru, who also manages Kimi. They both come out of the Mercedes Junior program. But Michel is the man you will see by his side almost every race in the paddock. His trainer is Tom Clark, about the same height as Esteban. PR this year for him at Haas will be Stuart Morrison, who is a lovely fella, and his girlfriend Flavie Bala. You can expect to see her a few times at the track this year. Let's go to Oliver Bearman now. His manager is Chris Harfield from the UK. His trainer, Martin Poole. Now last year Martin was working at Haas, but training Nico Hulkenberg. Not this year though. He stayed with Haas, picked up a new young driver. PR, Jessica Borrell. His father, David, will pop up at a few races without a doubt. He was certainly at a number last year. Let's go to Yuki Tsunoda now, and his entourage is somewhat decreased. Well, I think so anyway, because he was previously working with a manager, actually two, but I believe no longer with them, and I didn't see any manager at the track, so we're going to leave him as a question mark. His trainer, though, is John Noonan. He's been with him for a couple of years now. And PR will either be Fabiano Valenti or Andrea Severi. And occasionally his mum and dad pop up at races to give him some moral support. Carlos Sainz, previously a Ferrari driver, this year a Williams driver, is managed by his cousin, Carlos Honoro. His trainer is Pierluigi Dell'Abona, a hulking Italian fellow with one of the best heads of hair in the paddock. This year PR will be Dominic Hayer-Wright, and his girlfriend Rebecca Donaldson will no doubt pop up at a number of races. Oh, and I should say, this fellow here, Robert Merry, is his performance mentor. And what is his role? Well, he told me it was to make sure that Carlos is fit for racing, and he does help a bit with the coaching and ensuring his friend is always at his peak. That brings us to the bottom of the list with Nico Hulkenberg. His manager is Raul Spanger. His trainer this year, Alexander Gribov. PR, Will Panissi. His wife, Eglay, also known as Sunny, will be at a couple of races, and so too will his dad, Dieter. And our final driver of the 20 on the 2025 grid this year is Gabriel Bortoleto. He's managed by the same manager as Fernando Alonso. Well, Fernando Alonso and Alberto technically manage Gabriel. His trainer this year is Paolo Gargiulo. I've only got one picture of Paolo, and this is from post-season testing last year. And will we see his girlfriend Isabella Bernardini at the track? Yeah, I think yes. Maybe not early, perhaps come the European races, but I imagine that she'll be pretty excited to come and watch her boyfriend race in Formula One. You now have a much better idea of who those people are in the background of some of those shots that you see on TV and the background of some of my images. And before you go, please hit the subscribe button and like this video because it helps the algorithm. And next to me here is some very important information for other social media content, along with merchandise at kimillman.com, including, very shortly, new 2025 bucket hats. Thanks for watching and stay passionate. Are we ready? Oh, that tickled.